Hello to everyone who's here already. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us today. On behalf of the FSM Alliance, I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar in our FSMA Spotlight series on the FSM Toolbox, an introductory overview and experiences from South Africa. My name is Jan Heinecke, and I'm Program Coordinator for Events and Membership at the FSM Alliance. Just to give you some quick background about why we chose this topic today, the FSM Toolbox offers some excellent assessment and planning tools, which we'll hear more about in a bit. And since the FSM Alliance is responsible for the curation and promotion of the Toolbox, we already organized previous Toolbox webinars for our FSMA members. And then most recently, there was also a session during the FSM 6 virtual conference in June. And during that session, the audience was actually asked in a poll about what they knew about the Toolbox. And it came out that yes, many people know that the Toolbox exists, but only a few have actually made use of it. And that's why we decided to organize this public webinar session today, which includes experience from an actual implementation project in South Africa to really demonstrate how the Toolbox can be used in real life. And because this poll was so very easy but somewhat useful, we decided to do this poll again. So Eva, if you could bring up the poll with just one simple question. I think it's up now. Have you used the Toolbox before? Yes or no? Just to get an overview of what the situation is with people in the room. Yeah, giving you a bit more to answer. Eva, do we have a trend already?
Yeah, we have 88% who have not used the Toolbox as of yet, and 78% have voted. So yeah, that means it'll be new for a lot of you.
Sounds good. Then it's a very useful session to introduce the Toolbox to everyone. We're thankful to again have representatives from Imanti Management and UThukela District Municipality with us today, who will share their Toolbox experiences from a concrete user perspective. Both Imanti and UThukela had already facilitated the session at FSM 6, and we're looking forward to hear some updated reflections of their continued work with the Toolbox today. Taking a quick look at the agenda, we will first hear from my colleague Eva Mary, who will give a general overview of the FSM Toolbox and its various tools and applications. After this, Imanti will present about their efforts to introduce the FSM Toolbox to various sanitation stakeholders in South Africa. And finally, we will hear reflections from the UThukela District Municipality about their kind of like on-the-ground use of the Toolbox, before you will then have the opportunity to get your questions answered. For the Q&A session, please use the chat to ask your questions. And actually, you can already post questions into the chat during the presentations, and we will collect them for the Q&A session in the end. Also, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you like to do so. I would also like to remind everyone in the audience to please make sure that your microphone is muted at all times to reduce background noise. And also just to let you know, we are recording this session in order to keep track of any feedback that will help us when we continue improving and promoting the Toolbox in the future. Now we will hear the Toolbox overview presentation from Eva Mary. Eva is working in the wash sector for several years already and has worked with NGOs and as a researcher in India and South Africa. And since the FSM Alliance became the host of the FSM Toolbox, she is now leading our work to promote the Toolbox within the sector. Eva, over to you.
Thanks, Jan. Okay. Can everyone, I hope you can see my screen. Right. So
yes, looking good.
Good day. I'll be briefly giving an overview of the FSM Toolbox. And so without much ado, the FSM Toolbox is an open source platform that has a lot of tools for planners, engineers, and city officials to navigate the world of fecal sludge management. I've just taken a screenshot here of how the tools webpage homepage looks here. And the tool has under the execute function, we have the assessment and the planning tool. The assessment tool establishes, including the SFT and the CSTA, what the current status of the sanitation level or the fecal sludge management in that particular region or city is. And then we have the planning tool that then offers suggestions on how to plan across the value chain different components to improve the FSM situation. Then we also have the learn and the knowledge repository in the that is available on the web platform that is freely accessible, and everyone can share and learn about each other's progress or content or work within the FSM sector. Of they have done SFT or a planning report that has been generated, and they contributed towards sharing it. It is available on the learn under knowledge repository. So, yeah. Briefly talking about the FSM Toolbox platform, it was initially anchored at AIT, and it has various, that is the Asian Institute of Technology, and has various technical tools that had been developed by both AIT and other partner organizations such as CEPT, University in India, CSTEP, Susanna Leads Initiative, etc. And the toolbox then moved from very Excel-based, tool-based format to current iteration of it, which is more a function of what the user would like. Like if you as a planner or engineer, you want to know, or a city official, you want to know how to, what is the status of my current, what is the requirement, and how do we go about doing a containment process, or what is the transportation requirement? All of that in terms of functionality is captured currently in the tool. The platform has been developed with various partners, mainly Athena, Cabinet ED from Senegal, AIT, of course, and Imanti Management Consultants, and CDD Society from India. Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are two main group types of tool. One is the assessment and the other one is planning. The assessment tool took its initial iteration from the AIT's situation assessment tool and the regulatory and institutional assessment tool. But then we also later, right now, the current iteration focuses more on the city service delivery assessment that is developed by the World Bank, as it includes more, not on a rate, it has more in-depth, not just numerical rating, but also like what is currently present in city and is comparable from a region to region, and not just a numerical iteration indicator. And so currently, yeah, the city service CSTA is part of the FSM Toolbox, and it follows, it's complementary to the questions that is generated after you do an SFT, such as those in the social, institutional, and environmental factors that are then answered by using, like asked during the CSTA. And some of the examples would be on the policy environment, if such a certain policy is available and is appropriate and widely known. All of those are captured within a CSTA, and it's complementary to the SFT. And so both together will give you a thorough understanding of the current layout of the FSM structure. So where do you find the assessment tools? And execute. And you have, of course, we also have linked to the SFD here, which links to the Susanna's page. And then the users can do the city service delivery assessment by itself or as an integrated with assessment with the SFD. So that brings us to the planning tool. The planning tool is composed of various tools that have been the financial and technical assessment tool, the Sunny Plan, the AIT's planning tool, and the logistic tools, and SunnyTech. Currently, it is mostly focused on apart from the AIT's planning and logistic tool, the other tools are implemented in the web platform as is, with modifications. It's coming together and implemented in the algorithm of the planning tool of the FSM Toolbox. But because the IT is currently having their own version of their tool, so that is not directly involved. So as of now, the FSM Toolbox has brought together various tools that is in the sector and brought them in a place that is easily available for the users in a logical manner that goes by the functionality of a particular question that the user might have. And it is found also under the execute, and there is two iterations of the infrastructure planning, which is the citywide planning and the regional planning. This is so that some of the planning tools might be focused only on the certain city, but some of them might fall under the purview of the state or the regional body in terms of who from whom the permissions or who governs the region. So that's why we have two different levels. And it also includes the stakeholder engagement plan and the business models selection as part of the planning. So it's has a overall composite structure when you do the planning for a region or a city. Right. So this is how the FSM Toolbox's workflow and the global convergence looks. We have the assessment that includes the SFD, the CSTA, and the integrated module. We also have the planning part, which includes the prognosis framework from the World Bank and the AIT's stakeholder analysis tool, that is the political economy analysis, and it exists as such within the tool. The business model, which includes the IMI's resource recovery and reuse, is also placed as such. So it brings together various tools and is useful as a one-stop place for anyone working within the FSM sector to access and work on any for the planning or assessment of a region or a city. So from 2020 onwards, FSM Toolbox have been with us at FSMA. It's as the home, and we have been currently working on towards its dissemination widely. And during these discussions, we also worked with Imanti closely, and who was one of the key development partners for the Toolbox. And we were encouraged to roll out the Toolbox in South Africa last year. And with this, I would like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Thabisa Mandidi. And I would like to ask her to tell us more about their work in the Toolbox in South Africa and their experiences working in the sector. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva. And good morning and good evening to some people that we have here. I am just going to get my screen up so that I can share it with you. Please let me know when you can see my screen by just show of hands or...
Looks good, Thabisa, you can go.
Can you see it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Jan. Okay, I think as Eva has indicated to us, my name is Tabisa Mangodidi from Imanti Management. We are based in South Africa, and we have been working with the FSMA on the toolbox in terms of taking the toolbox and seeing how to use and implement in South Africa, and what benefits can we get from that. So our role has just been a short project to sort of see how we can be part of the process, and also see what benefits can we attain from that. Okay. All right, just to give you a background, as I said, it's just with a brief introduction to Fecal Sludge Management Alliance and the Toolbox. That's what the project is all about in South Africa. What Fecal Sludge Management Toolbox project is all about, that's what I'm going to also talk about. And then what sector engagements we have had in South Africa in terms of rolling out or just making people aware of the tool that is available out there that they can use, because the sector plays a huge role also in the tools that are useful to both the municipalities in the country and to other users. And then I also highlights some of the components of the FSM Toolbox and the engagement with the South African municipality, which is UThukela, who later would give us their experience on using the FSM Toolbox. Just on the background, the Fecal Sludge Management Alliance project, just like the few definitions, which I think Eva has also touched on. FSMA, an international foundation that advocates for equitable access to safely managed and dignified sanitation services and custodian of FSM Toolbox. And the Toolbox itself is actually an electronic platform that offers a suite of tools, as has been indicated earlier, to assess the overall FSM ecosystem in the city and plan for infrastructure improvement throughout the sanitation value chain. That could be in the city or the region and whatever. And then I've just shown the value chain of the sanitation, as you can see, from containment, emptying, transportation, treatment, and reuse, which basically on the FSM Toolbox, these things are also available there. So just to show the sanitation value chain, how it goes before it goes out to the site, when it does goes out to the site. Sorry. Okay, just then FSM status overview. I think this is something that most people are aware of or have seen, just to give you a general historic information. Globally, the SUA network, as you can see, history, institution and investment capacity, and the FSM coverage, cost, feasibility, environmental safety. So these other areas have had problems also, or it has been applied to many of the areas which have got the sanitation issues. These are just the overall statistics that that have been collected in the past, just to get an indication of 63% of urban population connected to the SUA worldwide. This number could be growing, because every day we know that the people that are working with this system, they are connecting and doing these things. And then only 9% of the rural population connected to the SUA, especially in rural areas, or especially in South Africa. This we have seen a lot, that rural areas are struggling, or they are not connected to the SUA. Therefore, they end up using their on-site sanitation systems, and in some cases, they are not even provided with the services. And then you get a number of percentage of those that are using on-site sanitation, both in, especially in the urban areas and so forth. If you're looking at the South African situation, or what do we have in terms of the sewage versus on-site sanitation, the perspective, basically, what I'm just showing there is the percentage of households with access to an improved sanitation facilities, and the backlogs in South Africa. That's the statistics that was collected in 2017. And then on a timely basis, these things are updated, but that's just like an idea of where we are in South Africa. So you can see that we've got like quite a number of areas that are still not serviced, or there are backlogs that are still existing in South Africa. So anything that we get that maybe can be useful to improve the planning, because then the FSM tool, it also helps improve the planning and ideas as to how we can take things forward as the country. As I said, the project was very short project and brief, just to take the tool to the country and see how it goes, and then we will, and then looking at the way forward as to what is going to happen. And the objectives basically was to uptake FSM Toolbox in South Africa, looking at the high-level stakeholders support, which I've mentioned, because we've got the Department of Water and Sanitation and the other people that are involved on a high level, especially when things are coming to sanitation, because they've got high interest also on making sure that we've got better sanitation. So the project was to make sure that we engage in them, and then take the tool and introduce the tool and to the sector in terms of looking at the municipalities, choose one municipality where we can do a case study and see and get a feel of how the municipalities, because those are the people that are on the ground in terms of providing the services on the sanitation side. Okay, the key tasks of the projects, briefly, high level and the high-level lead engagements. And then we also have technical training with the municipality. And unfortunately, that training I will talk about later did not only include one municipality. So we took it on a wide range to try and get as much people as possible, to just like have an idea of what the FSM Toolbox has got and what benefits they can get. And then we also had to look at the user interface or the user experience. And okay, just quickly on the high level engagement. We had a target. The target was to start with the Department of Water and Sanitation, which is the national body in South Africa. And then we took the concept, and then it was welcomed. And then we moved to making sure that we are taking it to the task team, which is the core team at the department, which is also looking at national sanitation, which is called National Sanitation Task Team. And then so that if there are any things that they can pick up that would work or would not work in South Africa, this is something that we should be taking to the developers to say, in South Africa, this won't work. We have tested this, and that. So those are the things that we're busy with. And so we started with, and then compiling and seeing what is important, or sort of what is working for us or not. And then we had introductory meetings, which involve the other stakeholders, not only the department or the leading organization, making sure that all the people that are within the sanitation, or those ones that have got a role to play and give advice as to that, taking it from there, and then we decide on the way forward as South Africans as to, is this working for us or is it not working? Okay. The technical training, as I've indicated, the second part of the project was to just go to the municipality, train the pilot municipality, which in this case we will talk about later, who is UThukela, which will give their brief experience on how they got to use the tool and then what experiences they had. But other than that, we had other municipalities who were part of the Water Research Commission, SFD, which we invited to attend the SFM Toolbox. And then we've also taken to various other areas with other people that, as I said earlier, that could also play a role. The Department of Water and Sanitation, Water Research Commission, the SALGA, another body for the municipalities, and other platforms. And we've also had a project with the USAID, and we've also just like briefly introduced the toolbox to the municipalities that we worked with, in terms of just get the feel as to what the toolbox is all about. And then we can see if the people want to take it forward or not. These are just like some of the profiling and the master classes that we did. Fortunately and unfortunately, we are in this time of the COVID, so we've been doing most of these virtually, which sometimes, which actually works well in most cases. And then of course, everything that works well has got its ups and downs. The technical training feedback that we conducted, just briefly, cell phone version of the tool. There was questions, people asking, will there be a cell phone version of the tool? Because we have noticed that sometimes it's easy to work with your cell phone, so it would be easy and great to have something like that. And also, especially, we've got younger people in some of these areas of the sanitation that are working there. And then we do know that young people, they work very well with their cell phone. Limitations on information sharing, different logins with the same municipality. So there are issues where people cannot see information from a colleague. And then the sludge products perception, some of the areas would indicate that it's unacceptable, which leads to reluctant in sludge use for potential products, limited sludge products market currently, inclusion of GPS and coordinates. So some of those are some of the feedback that the participants that have used the tool came up with, and many more others. This is just an example of some of those that we picked up when we were taking the tool out to different sector people in the sector. And thirdly, as I've indicated, with the user experience approach, basically because this tool is something that we've seen as we needed to get a municipality that will volunteer to be part of the pilot. So that would be looking at those ones that are willing, understand the terms, and then the benefits therefore that they could get from this. So in trying to get that, we were fortunate to get UThukela District Municipalities who are placed in KZN to respond to say, look, we will try this and then we will take the trial. That's where we got to be involved with UThukela and the FSM Alliance body to be working with them. And then that's the project now that is we are currently in finalizing in getting at the last stages of. Okay, the feedback from the user experience, as I've indicated, some of the positive, it highlights where the data is lacking, because immediately you can see that, okay, I don't have a data for this. I need to start compiling, getting information for this, because those things are uncovered. It's also an eye-opener in some of the aspects that is not sure of the municipal land assist to find out information. So it helps the municipal officials to start digging some of the information, because it's something that maybe was overlooked. It's definitely not a one person's task. One would need to intervene or to get other people from within the municipalities and engage and coordinate, because there are areas where you have to talk within your peers as the municipal official to get some information which you are not working with on a daily basis. As of the graphic confirms the noted challenges. That is, when you produce the SFD also, they could see that, okay, then the challenges that they already have had within the municipality, the SFD highlights that. Then the graphic also is an excellent for communication tool, planning, and so forth. Of course, like I said, there are positives and negatives. There were challenges and the minuses that people have highlighted, because our thing was to say, we put everything out there and then you can indicate what is the problem, what is not the problem, what works, what doesn't work, what is the negative and the positive. So when we feed back to the FSMA, we say, this is the situation on the ground when you're looking at our South African municipality. So one of the things that we indicated, like, it is time-consuming exercise, especially because it's also something new. So it's got like a lot of questions and a lot of things that you must get used to. It may require driving around, taking coordinates at times, because you have to get also coordinates, understanding your city as well. Of course, they're not a one person's task. Also, it becomes a challenge because someone has to run around within the municipality. So some of those things were some of the minuses or the challenges that they were coming forefront immediately to say, this is the situation, like the honest answers in terms of that. And the user experience feedback also. So we also looked at, okay, what are the implications then that you can also, which we can also tie in with the positive that we've picked up. It highlights where the data is lacking. Then you need to search for the reliable data, because some of the data is not reliable. Sometimes you have the data and then that's not. And then, of course, as I've said, is an eye opener. And then you also need guidance in explanation of terms, and initial training and guidance was very necessary. Once people have been trained, then they are happy and good to use the tool, and then they are trained adequately. And then the CSDA results to be aligned with SFD outputs and other municipal assessments to identify improvement plans, which we are working towards with UThukela District Municipality. Okay, I'm not going to take this one a lot of time on this one because I think Eva has given us an indication of that one. But what I'm saying here is that, okay, challenges in FSM, basically focusing on sanitation value chain from the interface, containment, emptying, transport, as we all know. So those are the things that one needs to uncover and understand that value chain. What are the things that I must look at an interface, at an individual side of things? So at the containment, the septic tanks, and so forth. Now you ask yourself a question. That looks like it's a process of coming from interface, containment, emptying, transport, treatment, and disposal. It looks like it's quite an easy thing to do. Is it a linear process? Is it as simple as it looks? I think that's the question in one's mind. But the answer is maybe not, or maybe it is once you understand what you are trying to uncover. But you have to go through the processes of making sure that you are doing the assessment. You're looking at your infrastructure using the other tools that are within the FSM Toolbox, like your Susana is also linked to that, where you can develop your sheet flow diagram, but then you also definitely need your enabler ecosystems. That's where the CS DA assessment tool comes in, because when you're starting to looking at your planning, okay, now that I've got these issues, I've got these rates and these problems, what are the planning that I need to take in forward and put into place? Who do I want to be talking to in terms of the stakeholders and so forth, developing the business model. So the tool has got those things that it actually gives you. And then there are certain case studies that also that you also get from the tool, where you can learn because it's a evolving thing where you are getting a lot of information from. So those are the things that we're also picking up as we are working with the tool, that there are quite good things that one needs to take forward. So when we're coming out of this session, one want to go deeper and just engaging FSMA and seeing some of the things that one can get in terms of that. Okay, I'm not going to dwell too much on that, but what I'm just highlighting is that on the toolbox, citywide assessment and stakeholder mapping is covered fully, and then partially you've got the short list of intervention areas, the design and plan interventions, which are partially covered. Then one needs to take it and tailor make it and look at your municipality or your area as to what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Some of the examples or screenshots that I've taken from the tool: infrastructure assessment, adequacy of FSM infrastructure and the sheet flow movement in the city. And then you've got to uncover by asking a lot of questions about each and every component. And then you get the enabler ecosystems as well, where there's also different questions where you are getting information, especially when you are taking the process to your developing your actions at the end of the day. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about that one, but that's a data collection. Like any other things, you've got to collect the good data for you to get the information. So you will be asking some of the questions in terms of the population, the people that that you must be talking to, and so forth. So those are the things that you also get when you are doing your planning. This is just one example of the outputs of the planning, where one needs to look at the population of the city and so forth in terms of determining exactly the kind of toilets that you are going to need for the city, because maybe you've got a lot of males than the females, or the females more females than the males, that kind of stuff, and what kind of toilets would be appropriate for your city, depending on the situation. Yeah, some of the outputs, I think we have spoken about this, so you can also over that, and then you get some information. Once you have put information on the system, on the tool, you are able to get your information at a later stage, as soon as you are putting the information there. Some of the outcomes, citywide assessment outputs examples. This is one example of developing, and then immediately it gives you the assessment in terms of where are you on your infrastructure assessment score, and then on your enabler ecosystem assessment score. Then you can start to addressing, taking that part to addressing, and maybe getting funding to address some of the issues of within your municipality. Okay, the sheet flow diagram is also you're also able to develop it through the tool. I think as Eva has said, that the tool has got the FSM Alliance has got variety of other tools that is actually useful. It slowly becomes the one-stop shop where one can get to. Okay, okay, our involvement then with the case study of UThukela District Municipality. I'm not going to talk too much because I've got Francois who's going to give us that brief one. So through that process, we develop the sheet flow diagram for 3 areas for that municipality. And then what did we do? We are now in process of taking that information and incorporating the sheet flow diagram systems with the city service delivery. And then we can see how that would be useful for the municipality, where they've got an understanding of their problems together with the sheet flow diagrams and the city service development. And then those are the outputs of what we are working towards in finalizing that process. And then, yeah, Francois will take us through that brief what the municipality has uncovered on the ground and using the tool and in terms of the action plans that they are putting in place together. As my last slide, FSM Toolbox usage benefits. What we have found is that it highlights where to improve on management of your fecal sludge as the municipality or as the utility that is working with the sanitation, and also provide guidance on how sanitation related fundings can be incorporated within institutional planning. Improve capacity of city planners, technical and operational staff to improve the performance of sanitation systems within the area. It also improve awareness and functionality of relevant stakeholders on their role in driving solutions to local problems. Also because of also the information that you can get from there, from the system, and improve sanitation related data information gatherings, and then the focus on issues that needs to be attended to. So you also start to pick up some of the areas that you want to start uncovering. And then with the fact that you can also use the tool to develop your action plan, we are finding it also is one of the useful tools, because then you can start to put things in place as to who's going to do what, when, with what budget. And then the municipalities then would take that to the management to present and get the funding, because then there's something that they can produce, put down on the table. Yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's my brief on FSM Toolbox in working with the Alliance, as well as with the municipality as a case study in South Africa. Thank you very much. Over to you, Jan.
Hello. Or meeting,
Yes. Morgan, can you mute your mic, please? Thank you. Thank you, Thabiso. That was great. I don't have anything to add. If you have questions already in the audience, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll pick them up in the Q&A later on. But then I would pass it over to Francois and Cindy.
All right. Thank you so much, Jan. Okay, I'm just going to share the screen for Francois. Francois is going to give us, Francois Klassen is going to give us the perspective of the UThukela District Municipality, who are the pilot municipality in South Africa. Francois is sitting with Cindy Kutsie, and they are working together and putting the presentation. Over to you, Francois. When you can see the screen that I'm sharing, let me know.
Thank you, Thabiso. I can see the screen. Welcome, everybody. As Thabiso said, we are the UThukela District Municipality, and we're situated to the northwestern part of the KwaZulu-Natal at the foothills of the Drakensberg. Within our district, we have 3 different local municipalities with 3 different socio-economic statuses and geographical areas. Now, the one area is the Alfred Duma local municipality, which consists of your eZakheni, your Kolenzio, and your Ladysmith area. Your second area is your Escourt or the Inkosi Langalibalele area. It consists of the town of Escourt, Loskop, and Winterton. And your third area is the Okotlamba area, consisting of Bergville, Langeloof, again, and all that. Now, as I said, it's different geographical and socio-economic statuses. Now, the map shows the three different municipalities that we have. When we did the SFD, we established that Alfred Duma had a safe management of waste of 39% only and unsafe of 61%. Inkosi Langalibalele had 38% safe management and 62% unsafe management. Okotlamba, it's 48% safe and 52% unsafe management of waste. Due to the fact that the Okotlamba region has a lot of septic tanks and road haulage. They are not really connected to a sewer system, and therefore it is very difficult to deal with that. Now, this is just a graphical representation of our SFD graph. As you can see, just get this. As you can see, it doesn't look good. There's no way I can sugarcoat it. It doesn't look good. Subsequently, after this SFD that we did also a CSD because, as you know, that the SFD shows you that there is a problem. The CSD will tell you where is the problem. Now, there's various problems that we need to address, and it is clear that the municipality itself will not be able to do it on their own. Subsequent to the CSD development and the SFD creation, then a business plan was created. Now, the business plan deals with preventative, predictive, and the refurbishment of infrastructure, because we could see that there is the problem is lying there. Now, on paper, we would like to have predictive maintenance and preventative maintenance, but on the ground, it shows us that there is far more serious issues with the infrastructure, the pump stations, and the source. So we're concentrating on that. As you could see in the screen here, it is what our CSD looks like. Again, it doesn't really look good. Now, of course, this is for the Alfred Duma area. It doesn't look good. Capacity and outreach is not there. Is totally lacking. But we are busy with this business plan to address this. We had a Green Drop Services accreditation process a while ago, which will give us an indication of how successful or not successful we are with all the money that we spend, all the work that is done, all the effort that we put in. So waiting for the outcome of the GDS assessment process, new SFDs and CSDs will be conducted to see how successful we are. Now, here you could see is the preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance, refurbishment, the pillars that we base it on. But as I said, refurbishment is the one that we're concentrating at the moment, because that is way behind. Recently, last week, for instance, we had training with this CSE in India, a very successful training course, which showed us various things that we could improve on. But this is this is the benefits of the implementation of reactive and preventative maintenance plan. But like anything else, we need money, we need funding. We're trying our best to get funding. We have made a lot of progress so far, but that is basically what our progress in our plan is about. It's not that we created an SFD and a CSD and left it on the desktop to go away. We did something about it. We saw that there's a problem and we address it. So I think that is commendable for the municipality and for the people that working with it. And I think that is a good progress or process towards progress in our municipality. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Francois. That was brilliant. Actually, we dive right into the Q&A. Francois, there was a concrete question in the chat on your presentation on the shit flow diagram that you presented. Jeanette asks, does the red arrow of wastewater not treated represent leaking sewers and or underperforming wastewater treatment plants? Could you elaborate on that? I mean, the slide was presented some time ago. Do you know what I mean?
I do, Jan. It is mostly, well, as I said, there's the three areas of different geographical areas, of which one is mainly road haulage. There's a lot of wastage going, there's a lot of spillages going. The other part is that unfortunately some of our sewage treatment works isn't functioning to its full capacity or non-functioning at all. So that plays a part in our very thick red arrow. So yes, it is very bad, as I said, but it is got to do with maintenance and the upholding of the infrastructure. I would say, well, everywhere in every country, in the world, there is leakages, sewer leakages, which is not a strange phenomenon. What is strange is that the sewage is not treated. It might be collected by road haulers, delivered, or fed through pumps and pump stations and stuff. But then the pump stations don't work, and you've got massive leakages. You've got trucks that collect it, deliver it to the sewer works, but then the sewer works don't work. So yes, that is why the red arrow is there, and I'm sort of ashamed to tell you guys that.
A sort of combination of different reasons for that. Yeah, that makes sense. We are in the Q&A. We have another 10 minutes before 12. So if you have any questions about any of the three presentations, whether it's general questions on the toolbox functionality, or about Emanti's work with different South African stakeholders, what Thabisa presented, or a question towards UThukela Municipality on their experiences, please put them in the chat, and then we're gonna pick them up here. I'm gonna go back to Lauren's question, which I think is a question for Eva. Lauren is curious to learn more about if and how the tools work together. So I think she means the planning tools and the assessment tools. Do the planning tools use outputs of the assessment tools, for example? Eva, can you take that?
Yeah, thanks, Jan. Thanks, Lauren, for the question. So the SFT shows the fecal material flow, right? And the CSDA, it shows the reasons why this material flow, if it is safely managed or unsafely managed, the reasons why it is high. Like if it is safely managed, what is the reason that it is safely managed in that city, or what is the reason that it is not safely managed? That is assessed in the CSDA. Well, and these two then gives rise to the question, okay, if it is not safely managed, or there is either be enabling environment such as policies, or it could be the land availability. What if, based on the CSDA's assessment, then comes the planning stage. So it doesn't directly feed into it, but it will lead to the question of what can be done next. So within the available resources and the available environment, enabling environment, or the available infrastructure, what is the next steps to be done? And of course, it needs a bit more data to be collected from the local area that we are assessing, you're planning to build. But yes, it kind of flows, one feeds into the other. And of course, some of the thing, like for a region or a country, there is a policy that says that for the number of toilets that should be there for a population of every 100 or every 200, those sort of data those numbers can be added on into the planning tool. So it can be customized briefly in the planning. And so that is the beauty of it, that it works within the existing infrastructure system of what a region's policy makers have determined to be the best case scenario. Teresa, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think you've put it well, Eva. I mean, that's also what we are learning through the process of taking the SFD, and what the CSDA is giving us. That's why I was also showing to say that we are working towards now combining, incorporating the two, so that when we get the SFD graphic telling us this, what are the action plans that we can put in place, because then the CSDA will also give us that. So it's something that as we are working with them, so trying to play with, because we also wanting to make it easier for us as the country, or as South Africans, because we like to take these things from other places, but then we want to make it a home thing that we can also use. Because what happens is that in most of our areas or municipalities or utilities, it must be something that is user friendly for the people on the ground. As soon as we get it, how can we make it easy to make sure that it's something that is like very practical for us? So yeah, I fully agree with you.
There was another question. Sorry, there was another question that was added on in terms of from Jeanette, that like if this planning tool, if it suggests technologies best suit. Yeah, so we take from the compendium that available technologies are already fed into the tool. So it based on the situation, like what is your preference, and also like the details you feed into it, it can suggest, and you have a drop down list and you can choose which one and see if it works or not. So the planning tool helps in making that decision. And it of course also gives that which is the step-by-step process, as Ini was asking, like if the current environment or the financial state of a place is available to have this for this region, or just having the containment process done for this region is only possible, then it is possible to do it in step by step. It is incremental process, and it suggests what is the most critical need to be carried out first, and then later on to what is the next step, and so on. So it is also depicted by the in terms of urgency, also by different colors. So it is very visually, you can plan it with your city officials and state officials, etc.
Thank you, Eva, for taking these other questions. Here's a very kind of like very interesting one in terms of an estimation of how long it takes from Alexandra. To make a full detailed assessment, to have enough data for the toolbox, how many months do you suggest for the field survey for a city of approximately 50,000 inhabitants? I mean, it's difficult to guess this, but maybe, I'm not sure if Francois is still there, or maybe Tabisa can answer that on, for UThukela, like how long did the process take approximately to gather the data, or like to put the profiles together?
Jan, it took me about 6 weeks collecting data, driving my colleagues crazy. Because I was talking to myself and reading stuff out loud, and they just eventually gave up to listen to me. But it took me about 6 weeks. Our town is about, I think, 32,000 people. I'm talking now Alfred Duma. I'm not talking about the others. It took me about 6 weeks to get behind the hang of it and to be able to understand what I'm reading and what I'm learning. But yes, that is about it. I didn't add a lot of groundwork assistance, but that I did have helped a lot. And I think if you have participation from your groundwork, it might be quicker. It might be easier.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good. I think to also add to what Francois is saying, is that, Alexandra, the areas, they also differ. You find that when in some areas you're talking to people that are not willing to give you information at the time that you need it, and then it becomes a process, which it becomes a dragging process for you, because you've got to go to different people and different departments, and sometimes you get the data, it doesn't make sense, and then you have to go back to them and say, okay, this data I've got, but I just need some clarity on A, B, C, D. And some of the things that we actually find in most of these cases when we are doing this work in South Africa is that I think Francois has highlighted also in his presentation, is that the capacity becomes a problem at the municipality. Then you find people that would tell you that sometimes that, okay, this is time consuming for me, I cannot do this. So as a person that is doing the research and trying to see if this thing is going to work, it can take longer if you don't have the willing people to help you conduct the process. But I think in case of UThukela, as you can all see and hear, Francois is passionate about the sanitation and then gathering this information. So it becomes like a very easy process to deal with such a person. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabisa. Because many of you asked, Eva was so kind to upload all presentations and shared the link in the chat. So make sure to save yourselves that link and download the presentations if you're interested. Maybe just the very last question, Eva, before we wrap up on the several questions on the SFDs and CSDAs, both where to get trainings for these,
right,
and whether we could use data that is already there, like secondary data, instead of going through the data collection process if the data is available. Could you take these, Eva?
Yeah, thanks, Jan. Also, thanks for the questions. Yes, so to the secondary data, if you have the data available for your region that you want to use the toolbox functions for, it is yes, of course, possible. You can do the SFD or just the CSDA as a desk-based assessment and enter the data as it shows up. You can see the questionnaire already freely available on the website, so you know what kind of data will be needed to get your CSDA. But for planning, if you already know which region, and also the questionnaire is available, so you can have a look and see if you have all the data, you can enter it. And then if some data is missing, you can go back and get them entered at any time. So it's, yeah, it is possible. To the other question of the training, Currently, we have done for our members a brief trainings, but of course, if you need some help, feel free to reach out to us. Jan, if you, we'll put our email address, also info account. If we will be able to help you or work with you in terms of whatever is whichever tool you will be using. So yeah, it is possible to give the training on either the CSDA or the planning tool. For SFD specifically, the Susanna has a very nice online tutorial on their webpage, the SFD Susanna webpage. So, and I would refer you to them. Of course, we would be able to, I think we would be able to give you a brief overview, but I think it's better that the training comes in detail comes from them. I would like to answer briefly also what Lauren posed about the case studies for planning tools. We don't have any public case studies available right now for the planning tools as of yet. Of course, whichever organizations or entities have been using the tool, it's not made publicly available for various privacy reasons for the city or the municipality. So yeah, but if there is one available that is done by, we will of course share it or share the link with everyone on the Toolbox resource, Knowledge Resource Center, and also announce it if everyone would like it. Yeah.
Thank you, Eva. We hit time. I would love to go on, but especially knowing that our colleagues in South Africa are challenged by load shedding. I think we wrap this up. I think it was a great discussion, very useful presentations, very useful questions. We are about to close, so thank you so much, Eva, for your overview presentation today and for your continued efforts to promote the Toolbox. Thank you to Bisa for joining us today and for all the hard work that the whole Imanti team has put in to promote the Toolbox in South Africa. It's really a great pleasure to be working with you all on this. Give our best to the whole team, please. Thank you also to Francois for representing UThukela District Municipality today. I think, we can say a lot about the Toolbox, but it is just really, really great for the audience to hear about kind of like the first-hand user experience from someone who has actually used it on a local level. So I'm sure the perspectives that you presented today helped a great deal to understand how the Toolbox can be used at district level. Big thank you to everyone who attended today. We were very happy with the high number of registrations, and thank you for all showing up today. Thank you for engaging with us. We hope this session was useful to you. It certainly was for us. Eva has put the presentations, shared the links to the presentations in the chat already. And I think in the presentations, you also find contact details for everyone. I've also put the toolbox@fsmalliance.org email address in the chat, which is the main email address to ask any questions about the Toolbox. We're always happy to help. We will also certainly continue promoting the use of the Toolbox to the sector. And we may organize more webinars in the future. So if you're not doing so already, make sure to follow the FSM Alliance on LinkedIn and Twitter to stay up to date with everything. You also find Imanti Management and UThukela Municipality on both platforms. So make sure to follow them as well to stay updated. Also, if you're using the Toolbox already, or if you have concrete plans to use it in the future, Eva mentioned that already, that we provide our FSMA members with on-demand trainings and ongoing monthly support. So if this sounds appealing, you can find our different membership options on the FSMA website. I think that's it. Thank you again to all our speakers and attendees for your time and input today. We hope to see you again at the next public edition of the FSMA Spotlight Series. But until then, have a great rest of the week and see you all soon. Bye-bye.